It is 12:36. You are listening to the Mid Morning Talk on Salam Media. If you've just joined us, well, thank you for joining us. You've missed out on a great show, but you can find the interviews on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Right, so the Muslims for Humanity have hosted or are hosting an Ashura feeding program. And to tell us more about this feeding program, we have the chairperson, or rather the spokesperson for Moosa, as well as Asima Moosa from the Fordsburg Muslim Youth Organization. And we will be waiting for the chairperson for Caring Sisters Network, Yasiera Suliman, to join us. But let's continue with these two beautiful ladies. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to the both of you, and thank you for joining me.
Wa alaikum salam. Thanks.
All right, so, let me start with you, Naailah, as the spokesperson for Muslims for Humanity. What is the Ashura feeding program all about?
So today being the 10th of Muharram, the day of Ashura, Muslims are encouraged to be more giving and extend their hand in generosity. And therefore the idea was thought up that why don't we take this opportunity and feed the poor communities in Durban. This happened 2 years ago. And from there, when we saw what a great initiative it was and how it grew, we thought, let's take it nationwide. And alhamdulillah, the project has just really taken off. So this year, we've managed to feed, alhamdulillah, through the grace of the Almighty, 250,000 people through the giving hands of our communities and the communities. And alhamdulillah, we are just so fortunate.
Wow, 250,000 is a huge number. Wow, mashallah, on achieving such a milestone. Asima, how has this collaboration assisted the various communities?
So what we do is last year when Shoaib called, I just called in all the organizations in Johannesburg that I'm familiar with. So Caring Women's Forum in Pretoria and Johannesburg. Last year, Fordsburg Muslim Youth Organization was involved. This year, they've opted out. Community Relief Foundation, Crescent of Hope, the South African National Women's Forum. So we all got together and collaborated. And, everyone has their donor pool. And everyone has their charity pool as well. So they had specific people that they service through the course of the year. And it just made it easier that all of us were working together so we could feed the maximum amount of people without any duplication. Alhamdulillah, again this year, CWF Pretoria and Johannesburg are on board. Community Relief Foundation is on board, as well as the South African National Women's Forum and the Val Muslim Forum. So collectively, we are feeding about 250 days between now and Sunday. There's one feed that's currently happening today. There's 100 days that are going out. And funny enough, the Quran actually has a saying, the righteous of you are those who feed in spite of the love for it to the needy, the orphans, and the captive. And today, 30% of the feed is going to the Krugersdorp prison, where 3,000 prisoners are being fed. And the amazing thing about this is, for me, it's dawah. We don't discriminate about who we feed, regardless of race, creed, or culture. So we try to get as many people on board and as many of the destitute that we can find within the communities in the Gauteng area. And alhamdulillah, it's been amazing. The support that we've received from all the organizations has been unbelievable. And the little communities that require the feeding just come on board and come to collect, which makes it so much easier logistically.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah. We do have Yasiera Suliman joining us right now. Assalamu alaikum, Yasiera. Shukran for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and jazakallah for this opportunity.
All right, Yasiera, what is the main objective behind this initiative, the Ashura feeding program?
Okay, so it's my apologies. I joined in a bit late because I just got back from our distribution point. So, and I'm pretty sure that I just joined in when I heard Asima talking, and I'm pretty sure that she's mentioned the object of Ashura and the benefits and the virtues of feeding on Ashura. But besides just feeding on Ashura, this project started off 2 years ago, and it started off during the period of COVID when there was much need for food as well as, people were challenged financially, and there was much hunger and poverty. So it stemmed up from then 2 years ago, and Alhamdulillah, as I'm saying, I joined in late, so I'm pretty sure that the other speakers would have filled in on the numbers that we're feeding this year. So the
Mm-hmm.
main objective is to get out to the needy, and I think the objective of collaboration and networking has come in where we can get out to more needy people than we can individually as just in the smaller organizations. So for example, being from the Caring Sisters Network, we're actually quite challenged when it comes to getting out to the masses. Sometimes the funding is available, but the logistics are not exactly in place because there's only so many places you can be at one particular time. Volunteers become a problem, logistics of distribution, getting the transport sorted out. So, Alhamdulillah, with collaborating under the umbrella of Muslims for Humanity and with so many organizations coming on board and taking it national, I think it's just been amazing as to the extent of our reach, getting out to people in the smaller areas, in places that generally don't get the general assistance. So besides the objective of feeding on Ashura and the benefits and the virtues of Ashura, I would think for us, this has an essence of getting out to many more than we can get out to on our own.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Asima mentioned that it's also a form of dawah, like going to the prisons where people don't really get the assistance. So, Alhamdulillah. Back to Naila. Tell us about the days leading to the big feeding projects. Now, I'd like each of you to answer this question, but I'll start with Naila. What are the requirements and the logistics for putting such a massive project together? I mean, 250,000 people is not a joke, and it's not an easy feat.
So, first and foremost, I need to take my hat off to the Muslims for Humanity task team. This was a mammoth task that, alhamdulillah, they've organized. And to our NGOs, it would not have been possible without any of them. But Muslims for Humanity has always taken the stand that we are not here to replace the NGOs. We are here to facilitate, collaborate, and coordinate all the NGOs under one banner to ensure that maximum reach is reached out to, and to ensure that no duplication occurs. So, like I said earlier, this was initiated 2 years ago where the seed was planted, and from there on it became a nationwide initiative. And logistically, alhamdulillah, we seem to have gotten better and better, where we've managed to reach more people from where we started, where we intended to reach 10,000 people, I think it was in 2020. We managed to then go on to 50,000 in that year. And this year, alhamdulillah, we've reached 250,000 people today. And logistically, we then reached out to all our NGOs nationwide, and we asked them to generate income and funds from their communities. Once they were done, we then reached out to our donors and our communities to top up. And we then distributed the funds across to all NGOs to ensure that even the smallest NGOs were able to reach their communities, so that nobody was overlooked. And alhamdulillah, through the grace and the will of the Almighty, we are here today feeling accomplished that we've managed to reach our task.
MashaAllah. And from your side, Asima, the days leading to this big feeding scheme?
So it's a lot of telephone calls, Sister Mariam. What we do is we have a spreadsheet that we actually put together last year, because we were on board only from last year. And we work off that, and literally it's just phone calls, calling each of these communities and checking if they'd still like food, and then arranging for them and to come and collect. And if they can't, then we try and make a plan with somebody that's got a business that has trucks or buckies or something like that. So literally the time leading up to it is just phone calls. Alhamdulillah, we have a cook in Johannesburg that we've used over many years through many of the organizations. He's very reliable, and he's been cooking for us for my husband and myself for the last like 15 odd years. So in terms of that, there was never an issue. This year in particular, we've managed to get more organizations on board, and actually more little communities on board. And it's essentially they all come through to collect. We package in buckets. What we do is we ensure that, Shoaib last year said to me, the easiest way to do this is to pack the dags into buckets, because to drop off a dag and then collect a dag is just so much of admin post the event. So he came up with this fabulous idea of just branding buckets, and 3 20-liter buckets makes up one dag, and that someone can come collect it. And also these organizations and use these buckets. A lot of them are quite happy when they're getting these like 10 odd buckets that they can use for water collections or whatever in their organizations. So we basically just make phone calls, lots and lots of phone calls before. And of course, then we call donors as well, because part of the thing that makes it easier for us is reducing the cost of a dag. Like we managed to, in Johannesburg, drop our dag cost to 1,500 Rand, which was no easy feat. And that was purely because we called people and said, look, we need rice, we need chicken, we need oil, we need whatever. And people donated. So it managed to bring that cost down. And alhamdulillah, it's, now it's just collecting the money. So.
Alhamdulillah. And well, the cost of living is quite expensive these days. So if you can bring the numbers down, then alhamdulillah, you can reach even more. And Yasiera, on your side?
Okay, so alhamdulillah, I think Caring Sisters Network in the way is a bit at an advantage because we do feeding schemes daily. We've been doing it for years. So, and I think I'm slightly at an advantage because I'm very well connected with many of the little Jamaat khanas, maktabs, madrasas, because we do this daily feeding, and I work in the communities of the townships, by profession. So alhamdulillah, over the years, we have our databases of thousands and thousands of people who are in need of food. We surely don't service thousands daily. We don't feed. We do feed 1,800 daily. So for us, logistically, to get through to the people who are most in need is actually quite simple. Our challenge becomes the logistics of the distribution of getting out. For example, today, the Caring Sisters Network did 100 pots, alhamdulillah. And Asima mentioned that, they have their cook that they work with, and we also have one of our cooks that we work with who cooks for us daily as well as during Ramadan when we do our other mammoth task of feeding, which is in Ramadan. So we tend to work with one cook. And as I said, I joined in a little bit late because I just walked in from there. It was a bit of a rush, but alhamdulillah, today I got there only at 10 o'clock. And when I got there at 10 o'clock, already 70 decks of ours had been picked up. And when I say distributed from our end, it's merely a handover. So like Asima mentioned, yes, we decant from the pots into the buckets, and it's much easier. And then we get all our, whichever areas we're servicing. We actually work with community leaders. We work with both Muslim and non-Muslim. And we work with all our maktabs, we work with our madrasas, and we work with the masajid in those areas that we are servicing for today. And they generally come through with their transport. Very often we have to fund the transport as well, because many of these places don't have their own transport. So we do outsource transport. We allocate the times. But the build up, alhamdulillah, as you asked, is actually logistically, it's becoming much easier. Like Naailah mentioned also, we started off with just thinking we're doing 10,000 in 2020. We went up to 50,000. Last year was 150,000, and this year 250,000. So from the Caring Sisters Network side alone, on the very first year, we did only 40 digs. Last year, we went up to 80 digs, and this year was just 100 in Durban, and we also managed to spread our wings to Cape Town as well as to Ladysmith, where we've done 5 in Ladysmith and 20 in Cape Town. But I think the whole essence of sitting under one umbrella and networking it just works magic, because like I'm saying, ordinarily we wouldn't be able to feed in Cape Town, but via the network under the Muslims of Humanity, we've managed to connect with organizations in Cape Town, and and we do feeding in Cape Town as well daily. So things have just been much easier for us. So over the days, the build-up hasn't been that difficult. I think the most difficult part on our end is just to arrange the transport transport and the vehicles to come through, pick up, and then we hand over. As I'm saying, we don't distribute; we hand over to these, smaller organizations. We have a lot of individuals who help us as well, because there are a lot of individuals who do feeding on their or in their own capacity in their areas. And many people, I think COVID has, brought us much fortune in a way, in a sense where we managed to connect with a lot of community leaders as well as individuals who help in their areas, in the needy areas. So we arrange the transports and we get them to come through, and we, outsource the logistics of the transport. We schedule in times. As I'm saying, Alhamdulillah, I'm home, and 100 of our digs have already been handed over in the buckets. So 300 buckets have been handed over to the various, parties, and they now in turn are going to go and individually dish out those meals. So yeah, Alhamdulillah, logistics are getting simpler every year. Numbers are increasing, and you would think, wow, but it's going to be a bit more tedious. But Alhamdulillah, as we go along, and I suppose, as I'm saying, coming from, having that advantage of doing feeding daily, logistics are actually becoming much easier, and it's becoming a bit of a breeze. Like I can say, Alhamdulillah, today it was so smooth. I got there at 10 o'clock and already 70 were handed over, and there were just like 30 left. And, with people just coming in and out with their trucks and their vans, it just seemed to be going so smoothly. I'm hoping, Alhamdulillah, that the individual distributions and the dishing out and whatever goes just as smoothly as well.
Inshallah, I hope it does go smoothly as well. Ladies, advice going forward from each of you, especially on this Women's Day, as it coincides with Yom Ashura. Naailah?
Going forward, I would just say that, inshallah, I hope more people in our community extend their hands, and I hope we get bigger and better. I hope where we've made mistakes, we improve in our mistakes. And inshallah, I just hope as time goes by, not only for our Muslim community, but I hope this reaches out to our non-Muslims, who then can see this as a form of da'wah, that, the Muslim community is so generous. We're always willing to feed, always willing to donate. And I hope it's all accepted by Allah, because first and foremost, that is our objective, for it to be accepted by the Almighty Allah. And inshallah, I hope that we just get bigger and better.
Ameen. And from your side, Asima, what is your advice to our audience going forward?
I think the best that anyone can do is just to support these initiatives. There's a hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that says, whoever feeds someone that's hungry will have his sins forgiven. And I just think that if you can, as an individual, just come to the party and help. The hardest part of all of this is just raising the funds. The rest is easy because the people are there, the people willing to help are there. The hardest part is actually getting the funding together. So as an individual, if you can put together just a little bit of your cash, just to fund this feeding, it goes a long way. People, sometimes you look at an ad and you think, oh my God, it's 2,700 Rand for a day. You actually don't need to pay all of that. You just pay whatever you can afford. And Allah finds a way and puts everything back together, And I think that's the best advice I can give to anyone, is to open that door of sadaqah in your life. Because if you do, amazing things happen for you.
Mm-hmm. And that little does go a long way. And lastly, Yasiera, what is your advice going forward?
Well, Alhamdulillah, like you mentioned, it's Women's Day, Alhamdulillah, and it's just coincided with Muharram. I think there was a bit of debate initially whether we should do this as an ongoing Muharram project, like every day. But I think coming together on Women's Day, this has just been a magnanimous, amazing effort. So going forward, I think to the organizations, a little bit of advice: come on board. You know what? It's like we say, together we can make big differences. Going forward, I would be amazed if we can reach 1 million people, inshallah, throughout South Africa within the next year or two. If you take it math-wise, we jumped from 100,000 to 250,000 this year. So who knows? Hey, inshallah, maybe not next year, but maybe 2024 we'll hit 1 million people, and that will be amazing, inshallah. But like Asima has mentioned, she's mentioned the hadiths, and we know that we're doing this solely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we also know we're going through an economic crisis in South Africa. And yes, some someone may stand back and say, but it's just one day. But Alhamdulillah, for many people, you don't know that this one day is actually the only meal they're getting maybe in a month. Well, I don't mean the only meal, but only like wholesome, decent meal. And I just want to say very quickly from the Caring Sisters Network side, we decided to just change things a little bit around this year. And I must say thank you to very many of our sponsors. And I would say thank you to Muslims for Humanity as well. Because like Asima mentioned, funding is a challenge. So I want to say thank you to Muslims for Humanity for helping Caring Sisters Network with a bit of funding as well. But also we had Dawood's Chicken that came on and donated, I think it was about 10,000 tons of chicken. So Alhamdulillah, we got a bit of that sponsored portion. But this year we decided to just give a little bit more, and we did 60 pots of mutton akni, not just chicken akni. Meat is surely a treat. We all do know that. And with the economic crisis, this meat dish could be the very only meat dish that few people have in a couple of months. So Alhamdulillah, going forward, as I'm saying, we'd like to see more organizations get involved, because the more organizations that come on board, the greater can be our reach and the further can be our reach. We can obviously get to those areas that actually get nothing throughout during the year as well. And going forward for donors, I think you're going to see a lot on social media today. Seeing is believing, Alhamdulillah, together under the banner of Muslims for Humanity, all the organizations, all the partnering organizations, all the participating organizations nationally, we've reached out to, Alhamdulillah, 250,000 people. Yes, it's just one meal, but Alhamdulillah, it's a magnanimous effort. So going forward, we say to the donors, please, we need you to come on board. Like they mentioned, 100 Rand is more than just 100 Rand is, something. So every little 100 Rand obviously collates, and we can do much more, inshallah.
Inshallah, Ameen. And I can totally see it happening. I can see 1 million people being fed. I can see 2 million people being fed. And it will happen because the right intention is there. And also, when women come together as a collective, we make things happen. Let's just sing our tune a little bit. We make things happen as women. So I can see it happening going forward. And I wish you well, all of you, in your future endeavors. And may Allah make things easier for you going forward and possible as well. Shukran so much for your time, and have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
All right, those were the ladies, part of the Ashura feeding program. The spokesperson for the Muslims for Humanity, Naailah Moosa, the chairperson for Caring Sisters Network, Yasiera, Suliman, and the Fordsburg Muslim Youth Organization, Asima Moosa, joining me to tell us more about the Muslims for Humanity Ashura feeding program, where they have managed to reach 250,000 people this year after only having started 2 years ago. What a great number, and I know the numbers are going to increase as the years come. All right, we have come to the end of our show for today. Please join me tomorrow, once again, same time, same place, 11 to 1 p.m. right here on Salam Media. And enjoy the rest of your Women's Day. And don't do anything that I wouldn't do. Whatever that is. Okay, guys, have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.